Welcome to True Crime Pulse, where we explore some of the most shocking and perplexing criminal cases across the nation. Today, we turn our attention to Norman, Oklahoma, a seemingly quiet and conservative suburb. However, beneath the surface of this tranquil community, one woman's secret life culminated in a grisly murder that left the entire neighborhood in shock. This is the tragic story of a devoted housewife whose hidden affair with her neighbor's teenage daughter spiraled into a violent and untimely death. Helen Marquardt, 42 years old, epitomized the Southern homemaker. Residing in Norman, Oklahoma, a town renowned for its conservative values and close-knit community, she appeared to live a life lifted from a family sitcom. Helen enjoyed a beautiful home, was married to a loving husband, and was the mother of triple boys Ryder, Rifle, and Ryan. Helen was actively involved in her children's school activities and was widely known and beloved for her kindness and warm personality. To outsiders, she seemed to have it all. Her husband, Robert Marquardt, was a highly successful corporate lawyer, known for his work in helping major oil companies exploit legal loopholes to drill in third-world countries. The family was a familiar presence at the First Baptist Church of Norman, where Helen led a Bible study group for women. To many, they appeared as the perfect family, a Christmas card-worthy image, smiling and flawless. But beneath the surface, Helen's life was far from perfect. Over the years, her marriage to Robert had grown cold and distant. Robert's demanding job kept him away from home for extended periods, and even when he was home, his mind remained occupied with work. This emotional disconnect left Helen feeling lonely and unfulfilled, both emotionally and physically. In her search for something to break the monotony of her life, she found herself drawn to excitement in an unexpected place, her 17-year-old neighbor, Taylor Ronsley. What began as a mentorship, Helen teaching Taylor how to act as a proper Christian lady, soon devolved into something far darker. Their relationship escalated into a secret affair, and Helen, captivated by Taylor's youth and vitality, became increasingly obsessed. This affair provided Helen with a sense of escape, a way to fill the void left by her failing marriage. In the days leading up to her death, Helen's behavior became more erratic. She withdrew from her regular community engagements and grew increasingly possessive of Taylor. It was clear to those close to her that something was wrong, but no one could have foreseen the tragic events that would soon unfold. On the morning of June 5, 2022, Robert Marquardt returned home to Norman after a long night at the office. It was just after 7 a.m., and sunlight was already streaming through the windows. The house, usually filled with the sound of his three sons preparing for school, was unusually quiet. Robert expected to find Helen in the kitchen making breakfast as she always did, but to his surprise, the kitchen was empty. He called out for her, but there was no response. A growing sense of unease crept over him as he ascended the stairs to their bedroom. The bedroom door was slightly ajar. Pushing it open, Robert was met with a horrifying sight that would haunt him forever. Helen lay on the floor next to their bed, naked, surrounded by a pool of blood. She had been shot to death. The room was in complete disarray. The bed was unmade, furniture was overturned, and shards of broken glass were scattered across the floor. It was clear that a violent struggle had taken place. For a moment, Robert stood frozen, unable to comprehend the horrific scene before him. Panic quickly set in as he rushed to Helen's side, desperately trying to wake her, but it was too late. Realizing she was gone, he shakily dialed 911, struggling to explain what had happened to the operator. His voice was frantic, barely controlled, as he told them that his wife had been shot and was no longer breathing. When the police arrived, they found Robert sitting beside Helen's body, pale and in shock. He was escorted outside while officers secured the scene. News of Helen's death quickly spread through the neighborhood, drawing neighbors and onlookers to the Marquardt home, murmuring in disbelief. Local news stations soon arrived, reporting live from the quiet suburban street, now the center of a grisly murder investigation. The Norman Police Department responded swiftly to Robert's 911 call. Officer David Collins, a seasoned 12-year veteran, was the first on the scene and quickly assessed the situation, calling for backup. Detective Dwayne Yocom, known for his methodical approach to complex cases, was assigned to lead the investigation. Inside the Marquardt home, officers encountered a chaotic crime scene. The bedroom was a picture of disorder, with the bed unmade, the mattress askew, and several pieces of furniture overturned. The broken glass on the floor pointed to a violent altercation. Helen Marquardt's lifeless body lay near the bed, her death clearly caused by a gunshot wound to the head. Blood had pooled around her, staining the carpet. Detective Yocom carefully surveyed the room, taking note of every detail. Bruises on Helen's arms and legs indicated a struggle, suggesting she had fought fiercely against her attacker. Nearby lay the murder weapon, a small handgun, which was swiftly collected as evidence along with several other items from the room. Forensic specialists meticulously processed the crime scene, dusting for fingerprints, taking blood samples, and photographing every angle to document crucial details for the investigation. Thus began the unraveling of the Marquardt family's carefully constructed image, a tragic reminder that even in the most idyllic of settings, darkness can lurk just beneath the surface. The investigation into Helen Marquardt's murder was growing more complex as Detective Dwayne Yoakum and her team continued to unravel the tangled relationships in her life. While Taylor Ronsley's relationship with Helen had raised suspicion, her alibi remained unverified. Taylor's admission of feeling trapped in the relationship and Helen's controlling behavior certainly provided a potential motive, but Yoakum was wary of drawing conclusions too quickly. Taylor's agitation during questioning left a lingering doubt, yet without more concrete evidence, the detectives couldn't pursue her further as the prime suspect. Meanwhile, Robert Marquardt's interview was equally troubling. His calm and detached demeanor, despite claiming to be devastated by his wife's death, was hard to reconcile with the gravity of the situation. Robert's strained marriage and Helen's affair with their young neighbor, Taylor, added layers of complexity to his potential involvement. His profession as a corporate lawyer, one skilled in navigating legal loopholes and perhaps covering his tracks, added to Yoakum's cautious approach. While Robert's alibi was supported by time-stamped records, the detectives couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Could he have orchestrated Helen's death in a way that allowed him to appear blameless? As the investigation pressed forward, Yoakum directed her team to dig deeper into Robert's business dealings and personal life. She knew that even the most convincing alibis could unravel under closer scrutiny. The detectives began reviewing surveillance footage from his office building, hoping to corroborate his claims further or find any discrepancies in his timeline. The next steps were crucial. Both Taylor and Robert had motives, one driven by a suffocating, toxic relationship and the other by the strain of a crumbling marriage and a wife's affair. As the detectives pieced together the evidence, they were determined to find the truth behind Helen's murder, knowing that in a case as twisted as this, anyone could be hiding deadly secrets. As the investigation into Helen Marquardt's murder continued, Robert's strained marriage and cold relationship with Helen kept him under close scrutiny. Despite his calm demeanor, detectives knew they had to keep him in the spotlight as they pieced together the events leading up to Helen's death. However, another potential suspect emerged: Karen Ronsley, the 42-year-old mother of Taylor. Karen, a dedicated nurse at Norman Regional Hospital, worked long hours to provide for her daughter, Taylor. Known for her no-nonsense attitude, Karen's primary concern was Taylor's well-being. Over the years, she and Helen had been friends, their bond initially built on shared experiences as mothers. But as time passed, Karen noticed changes in Taylor's behavior. Her daughter had become more secretive, and their once close relationship seemed to be slipping away. Karen suspected something was happening between Taylor and Helen, though she wasn't sure what. A few days before Helen's murder, Karen confronted her in the driveway, accusing Helen of having a sexual relationship with Taylor. The confrontation turned heated, with Karen demanding that Helen stop, fearing the impact it would have on her daughter's future. Both women left the argument upset, and Karen felt uneasy about what might come next. When Detective Dwayne Yoakum and her team brought Karen in for questioning, they were aware of the argument. Karen admitted to confronting Helen but denied any involvement in the murder. She explained her concerns were purely for Taylor's well-being and insisted she had been working a night shift at the hospital on the night of the murder. Time-stamped records from the hospital supported her alibi, but detectives remained wary. Despite her strong alibi, the proximity of Karen's home to the crime scene and the intensity of her argument with Helen kept her under suspicion. The investigation reached a breakthrough on June 12, 2022. A technician at TechFix, a local electronics repair shop, contacted the police after discovering hidden video files on a malfunctioning home security system. The system, brought in by a customer, contained footage recorded in the Marquardt home, specifically in the master bedroom where Helen was found dead. The videos, dating back several months, revealed an ongoing sexual relationship between Helen and Taylor. Disturbingly, Helen had been secretly filming their encounters, likely without Taylor's knowledge. The footage showed increasing tension between the two, with Helen becoming more possessive and controlling and Taylor growing fearful. In one of the final recordings, Just days before the murder, Helen threatened to expose their relationship if Taylor tried to leave her. This shocking evidence reframed the entire investigation. Helen's murder wasn't merely a crime of passion, it was the tragic outcome of a toxic relationship that had spiraled out of control. The video suggested Taylor might have acted out of fear and desperation. Armed with this new evidence, detectives returned to the Marquardt home and discovered several hidden cameras in the bedroom, confirming Helen had been recording their encounters. The investigation's focus shifted toward Taylor, as detectives sought to uncover the truth about her involvement in Helen's death. With the chilling footage and hidden cameras, they were finally closer to understanding what really happened that night. The case of Taylor Ronsley and Helen Marquardt shocked the small community of Norman, Oklahoma, forever altering its once peaceful facade. On June 14, 2022, the investigation reached a turning point when hidden footage from Helen's home provided the critical evidence detectives needed. The footage revealed the depth of Helen's manipulation over Taylor and showed the toxic, secretive relationship that had spiraled into tragedy. Taylor, an 18-year-old high school senior, had been known for her promising future, excelling academically and socially. However, beneath this surface was a darker reality, a coercive sexual relationship with Helen, a much older woman who had trapped her emotionally. The footage exposed Helen threatening to release sex tapes she had secretly recorded, further tightening her control over Taylor. Pushed to the breaking point, Taylor acted out of panic and fear, grabbing a gun from Helen's nightstand and shooting her in a moment of desperation. So Detective Dwayne Yoakum and her team had been carefully building their case, and by June 14th they felt confident they had enough evidence to arrest Taylor. That afternoon, police arrived at the Ronsley home, where Taylor sat with her mother, Karen. Taylor, visibly shaken but resigned, did not resist her arrest. Her mother, completely unaware of the relationship, was left in stunned silence. The revelation of the relationship sent shockwaves through the community. Helen's husband, Robert, and their 3 children were devastated by the truth. The once idyllic Marquardt family was left shattered, with Robert trying to grasp the secret life Helen had been leading. As the trial began in November 2022, the courtroom was packed with media, spectators, and Helen's grieving family. District Attorney Mark Peters presented Taylor as a manipulative young woman who had killed Helen in cold blood, while the defense attorney, Lisa Green-Troller, argued that Taylor was a victim of Helen's emotional abuse. Green-Troller showed the jury the hidden videos of Helen's threats, painting a picture of Taylor as a desperate teenager who saw no way out of the situation. After days of emotional testimony, the jury returned with a verdict of manslaughter, not murder. They were swayed by the evidence of manipulation and the psychological torment Taylor had endured. She was sentenced to 10 years in prison with the possibility of parole after 5. The sentence was met with mixed reactions. Helen's family struggled to understand how the woman they knew could have been so deeply involved in a secret life that ended in her murder. Taylor's time in prison marked the beginning of a long journey toward healing. She enrolled in counseling and education programs, trying to rebuild a future from the ruins of her past. Meanwhile, Helen's husband, Robert, took a leave of absence from his law career to care for their children, doing his best to protect them from the harsh realities of their mother's death. The quiet suburb of Norman, once viewed as a picture of normalcy, was forever changed by the tragedy. The case became a cautionary tale, reminding residents that even behind the most perfect exteriors, dark secrets could lurk. Life slowly returned to its usual rhythm, but the memory of Helen Marquardt's death and Taylor Ronsley's trial lingered as a grim reminder of the hidden desperation that can lead to unimaginable outcomes. Thank you for staying glued to this channel. Until next time, when we bring you more crime stories from across the country, like, comment, and share your thoughts. Continue to stay safe and be vigilant. True Crime Pulse. Thank you.